Jake with Bond Performance. I'm going to be installing my strut bar today. Bought it used from Buddy. It's one from some company in Poland nobody's ever heard of. But I'm going to walk you guys through the steps here. There's a few different ways you can go about doing this. I've got a lift, so I'm going to rack it. That way I've got ease of access for moving the suspension around if I need to. Some people will remove the wipers and the entire cowl. I'm just going to be holding the cowl up out of place to do it. But like I said, make sure you've got new hardware. This is Stretch, one-time use. So yeah, I'm going to rack the car and we'll get started. Alright, first step, going to remove this weather stripping. And there's 3 clips. One, I'm gonna have to use 2 hands for that one, and the third one here. Alright, so there's supposed to be 3 of these clips. Apparently, somewhere over the course of the last 6 years, I've lost that one. So, here's the 3 bolts per side we'll be removing. Again, I've got my car on the lift ready to go up if I need to, if any of this shifts while the hardware is out. You can also use a stud or 2 to hold this in place, but I've got the lift, so I'm not going to worry about that. Worst case, I'll lift the car up and realign everything. Also, technically you probably should get an alignment after doing this. I'm going to do my best not to move the suspension. And when I install suspension, I always push it as far inboard as possible to gain the most negative camber possible. I've got Super Pro lower control arms that add some camber and caster. So just with it being occasionally track driven, I'm trying to get all the free camber out of it as I can. So you know, as far inboard as possible is going to be the same whether or not the strut bar is there or not, so hopefully that doesn't throw the alignment off too far or at all. Alright, so I've got my torque wrench set to 132 inch-pounds, not foot-pounds, inch-pounds. This is a tiny torque wrench, which is equal to 11 foot-pounds, which converted from German Newton meters equals the factory spec of 15 Newton meters. Which, as you can see, is not all that tight. I was able to do that, just run it down with my 1/4 inch ratchet I had in the time lapse part of the video. Also, something to be aware of, I knocked my strut nut dust cap down into the black abyss that is the cowl drain, and I don't think I'm going to be able to get it out, so just be aware of that. Carefully you don't knock yours off. I'll just order another one from FCP next time. I've got stuff coming from them. A lot of people run without them. It's not that critical, just helps keep all the garbage from collecting in there through the cowl. All right, so that's just the initial torque, and the next step is to do a 90-degree turn on each of them. I won't be doing that with a torque wrench because it's not a set torque, it's a set rotation. So I'm going to mark each bolt and then turn until that mark faces forward 90 degrees from where I'm putting the mark, just to keep things simple. So the back one's a little bit harder to reach, so I'm going to put the camera down to do that. All right, so everything's got its degreed turn that applies the torque to yield on the bolts. So I'm going to pop the clips back in, pop the weather stripping back on, and then take it for a drive and see if it's a noticeable improvement. All right, so while I'm letting the car warm up a little bit, figured I'd just take this opportunity to let you guys know that I'm not just a YouTuber. This is my shop, and this turbo back exhaust and front mount intercooler are part of my complete line of hand-built, obviously American-made parts for the Mk7 and 7.5 GTI, GLI, and Golf. The front mount intercooler is both V1, which is on this car, good for up to 450 horsepower, and V2 up to 550 horsepower are available for the Golf R as well. I do not have all-wheel drive exhaust parts, so if you're local to the Charlotte, North Carolina area, I'd like to talk to you about potentially borrowing your vehicle for development, if that's something you might be interested in. So, with my little ad spiel out of the way, so people that just drop into the channel for this video know that On Performance is not just YouTube, it's a line of aftermarket parts. So, on to a test drive. So far so good, no extra NVH or rattles or anything concerning. So I'll do the hill climb challenge, as customers like to call it. My shop driveway is pretty steep. Might not look like it in the video, but I'll get up there and go throw this thing around a little bit and let you know what I think about it. All right, so I just got back from a short drive. Initial thoughts, it's definitely a noticeable change. It's not night and day so much as you're going to notice it in normal driving, but it is a notable difference at the limit, or say 50% aggressiveness in cornering up to the limit. With the very little bit of driving that I've done, just maybe 5 or 10 miles, I would say that it makes the cutoff at the limit more crisp and defined. So you get a little bit less warning before the car will start to slide. And I would have to say that it promotes understeer a little bit. So the oversteer tendency that I induced with the 26mm H&R rear sway bar, and the more neutral handling of that, and the additional camber from the Super Pro lower control arms and Bilstein B14s, I would say that it's moved it a little bit back towards understeer, which would be how this car handles stock. So that's just something to keep in mind. Obviously I'll have to put some more miles on it. It is in ideal conditions out. It's somewhat wet, like drying up from a light rain, and 46 degrees, so obviously not great conditions for pushing the car, so I wasn't getting too out of control with it. But what I would definitely say is don't overdo it on your first romp out with it. Make sure you do your testing in a safe location and with some runoff room if you get too wild. So merch is also available. This hat's all dirty, I wear it for work. I've got a clean one for occasion. So yeah, merch, parts, my email is readily available. I'll put it in the description here. I don't have a website. This is something I do part-time in addition to being an aircraft mechanic, hence the torquing everything to spec and being very thorough about things like that. Hopefully this video helped you out. Got the torque specs in there for you. If you missed it, go back, watch the whole thing. It's not that long of a video. And always appreciate subscriptions, comments, likes, dislikes, comments, concerns, all that stuff. So thanks for watching. If you made it to this part, hopefully this helps you make your decision on your next potential purchase for the car. See you next time.